Hey students, I'm going to just try to make this video a quick one, but also I just wanted to give you that opportunity to review for the test that's coming up. So these first two questions are asking the same skill. They're pretty much asking you if you can determine if the given solution is the solution to the system. So pretty much you look at these as x, y, and z. And then if this is a solution, then this side of the equation should equal 10 when you plug these values in. So it looks like this: 3 times 0 minus 3 times -4 plus -2. And if you use pandas, you distribute what's next to the parentheses. When there's nothing, there's a 1. And then you have 0, so nothing. And then negative times negative is positive, 12, and -2. So here, 12 minus 2 does equal 10, so that checks for that first equation. For the next equation, same thing, we substitute the x with 0. So we're following this. And we are now checking for it to equal -2. So 3 times 0 is nothing, and then 2 times -4 is -8. Distribute this, and you get positive 6. So -8 plus 6 does equal -2. So that checks. So now let's check the third one. And if it does check, it is a solution. If it doesn't, then it's not a solution. So 3 times x, so 3 times 0 plus z, so that's -2, equals a -2. And as before we saw, anything times 0 is 0, so that cancels. And then here you're left with just -2 equals -2. So that checks. So because all three equations are true when these values are plugged in, this is a solution to the system. So if at any moment you plug in a value and it's not correct, I believe in the second example, this is the one that shows an example of that. So I'm just going to show you that. I'm going to plug in negative times 4 minus 2 times -1 minus 4 times -5. So negative times 4 is -4, negative 2 times -1 is positive 2, -4 times -5 is positive 20, and we're checking to see if it equals 13. So here we have -4 plus 2, that's -2 plus 20, and you're asking yourself if it equals 13. So -2 plus 20 is actually 18. And does 18 equal 13? No. So that is false. So that tells you that in this equation, this solution does not work to make this statement true. So that means that this is not a solution to the system. All right, so there will be one question on the test in that skill. The next skill is solving a 2x2 system of equations. So once again, this is an algebra 1 level equation. So you can either approach it through substitution or elimination. When it's in standard form, in the form of ax plus by equals c, elimination is strongly recommended. Pretty much you just gotta convert either the x's or the y's into the same number and make sure that they're opposite sign in order to be eliminating it, and then you solve. So we can try that example with elimination by showing you, for example, the y's. The y's are opposite sign, negative and positive. So the top one needs to be a -2 to cancel that +2. So we're going to multiply the entire first equation times 2. And then that will result in 4x minus 2y equals 12. And we're going to now put that bottom equation underneath that. So we're going to have x plus 2y equals -2. So now this system shows that if we add downwards, the y values eliminate. -2 plus 2 is 0. And we end up with 5x equals 10. So here we can just solve for x by dividing by 5, and x equals 2. And then once we have the x, we now need to look for the y by picking an equation to solve for. Any equation doesn't matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this top one and write 2x minus y equals 6. And I'm going to substitute the x in there. So 2 times 2 minus y equals 6. That is 4. 4 minus y equals 6. Minus 4 on both sides. Negative y equals 2. So we want this to be a positive y, so we're going to either multiply times negative 1 or divide by negative 1. And we end up with y equals negative 2. So the solution to the system is positive 2, negative 2. And again, this is the elimination method. I do want to take the time to show the substitution method because most of the students in class were doing that method. So for for substitution is where you have to pick one of these equations to be either x equals or y equals. So most of them were picking the y. So I'm just going to show that example for you, those of you who are going that route. If we solve for y, we're going to get rid of the x, move it to the other side, and we end up with negative y equals negative 2x plus 6. Then we divide by negative 1, and y equals 2x minus 6. So this ends up with an expression to substitute for the letter y into the other equation. So the other equation is x plus 2y equals negative 2, and this is going to go right here for the y. So x plus 2 times 2x minus 6 equals negative 2. Now we solve. So we distribute. 2 times 2 is 4, so 4x. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Bring down the x. Let me make that better for you. And then we solve for x. So we combine like terms, that's 5x. And then we add 12 to both sides. So that leaves us with 5x equals 10. And that pretty much is what we had over here when we ended up with 5x equals 10. So we divide by 5 and x equals 2. And when you do substitution and you get an answer, you do the same thing we did over here, where you just pick an equation, an original equation, and substitute the value found. So I'm not going to repeat that part because it's the same process that we did here. We just pick an equation, substitute, and solve for the other one. Okay, next equation. So you're going to have one question on the test in that topic. So next question is asking you to look at the system. And again, the system is an algebra 2 level because we are going to end up with x, y, and z as our solutions. And the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, is this going to be answered through substitution or elimination? So substitution is your first check. Can I substitute values into one another to solve for variables? Here, as you notice, y equals 7. It's just telling you y equals 7. So that's already solved for y. That will be the y value that goes here. Next, you look at the other two equations, if any of those can help you solve for another variable. And that's when the first equation right here shows you that you can use that one to solve for x. So knowing that y is for 7, y is 7, we are going to substitute that and solve for x. So now it leaves you with multiplying 4 times 7, which is 28 equals 24. Subtract 28, and x equals negative 4. So now x equals negative 4. And we are looking for the z now. So with x equals negative 4, y equals 7, we're going to look at the last equation. So 2x minus y plus 3z. and we're going to substitute the two values that we have, so x and y. So 2 times negative 4 minus 7, plus 3z equals negative 6. And then we distribute, so 2 times negative 4, that's negative 8. Negative times 7, it's negative 7. And then that's plus 3z equals negative 6. We combine like terms, negative 8 minus 7, that's negative 15, plus 3z equals negative 6. And then we're solving for x, so this 15 doesn't belong there. We add 15 to both sides. So 3x equals, and here when we subtract this, we're going to end up with 9. So then we divide by 3. And I meant subtract because they're different symbols. So you end up subtracting the numbers and keeping the sign of the biggest. So you have more positive than negatives. And then the answer will be just 3. So the answer is negative 4, 7, and 3. And you can always check if your solutions are correct by plugging them in like we did right here, number 1 and number 2. If they are correct, then all 3 should be true. So for example, the first equation, so this is where we're going to check. The first equation is x plus 4y equals 24. So we're just going to plug in the x, negative 4, plus 4 times 7, and it should equal 24. So negative 4 plus 28 should equal 24. And that is positive 24. So that works. So now let's check the next one. Obviously, y equals 7. That's the second equation, so that checks. Y is equal to 7. And then the third equation is 2x minus y plus 3z equals negative 6. And you're going to substitute all numbers. So you're going to have 2 times negative 4 minus 7 plus 3 times 3 equals negative 6. So 2 times negative 4, that's negative 8. Negative times 7, that's minus 7. 3 times 3 is 9. And that should equal negative 6. Negative 8 and negative 7 is negative 15. And if we do negative 15 plus 9, that is negative 6. So negative 6 does equal negative 6, and that checks. Okay, in the back of this is where we have the problems that need to be solved using the Gaussian elimination method. And once again, you can tell that by just looking at these and knowing that all 3 equations have all 3 variables for both of these. I'm gonna just make another video for part 2 of the review because these will take a little bit of at least 5 minutes to explain. So just be on the lookout for part 2.